Hey guys, it's Thermal Grease Monkey here, and I'm back once again with another video. In this one, I wanted to test a very budget GPU. I started taking a look at the 2GB GTX 1050 and the legendary 4GB GTX 1050 Ti card that is near and dear to my heart, one that I used to run myself. And I wanted to see if these cards were still viable in 2025 until I ran across a little gem. I found out that there was a 3GB GTX 1050 right here. 3 gigs, and it's not $160 anymore for a very cheap price. It was about 30 to 40 bucks. I couldn't say no to an interesting card, so I ended up picking it up, and I wanted to do a little bit of testing. But a slight turn of events occurred. A buddy of mine reached out to me saying that he wanted to get his girlfriend a gaming PC for the holidays, and really tight budget. Mostly she was going to be playing stuff like Minecraft, The Sims, but he wanted to get her into some other games. Maybe something like Valheim. He likes playing that a lot. You know, testing out, trying to play Fortnite, trying to play Valorant, maybe even Marvel Rivals, right? Games like that. Very simple, easy to run games, free games, or very affordable ones that are fun to play. And so he reached out to me to see if I could build him a PC for a couple $100. I obliged, of course. Now, this being the only super budget GPU that I had at the time, I said, hey, this is a perfect opportunity. So I paired it with some very budget hardware to match it. So to kick things off, I paired my Ryzen 5 1500X I had. I threw that in the build. We got ourselves 16 gigs of RAM clocked at 2666 megahertz in our MSI Pro Max B450 motherboard. We got a stock AMD Wraith CPU cooler, 1 terabyte SATA SSD. We got our graphics card, our GTX 1050 3 gig, and we got ourselves a 500 watt 80 plus Thermaltake Smart Series power supply. Albeit, I know many people give harsh criticism to the power supply, but overall, every single one of them I've used over the years has been just fine, haven't had any issues, and is still running today. And because I was strapped for cash at the time, that was our only option. And we got ourselves the DIY PC flash case. I'll throw up a picture in pink. So, kicking things off, what's the difference between the 2 and the 3 gig 1050? Well, obviously 2 versus 3 gigs of VRAM. But the bus width is definitely something that changes quite a bit as well. Going from a 128-bit bus to a 96-bit bus is very different. I'll try to throw up the specs as I'm going here. The core count increases 128 cores, going from 640 to 768. Go from 40 to 48, and your ROPs go from 32, but then drop to 24. So an interesting card in how it works, the things that change. Obviously the bus width and stuff because of the VRAM change, but just overall the change with the graphics card, and why wasn't it named differently? So we'll start onto our investigation by testing 5 different games, the games that she's probably going to be playing the most. We're going to start with Valheim for our first one, move over to Minecraft, test out Marvel Rivals, do Valorant, and finish it off with a game of Fortnite. Kicking things off with Valheim, there are 4 graphics settings to test here. We start with very low, with 158 FPS and 121 for the 1% lows. Super buttery smooth, not an issue in the world, but if we're getting FPS like this, I want to see what we're able to do at higher graphics settings. When throwing things to performance or balanced, it was identical. 48 FPS for the averages, 43 for the 1% lows, and we were very often in the low to mid 50s, fairly often depending on where we were and what we were doing. But again, we're mostly running around the beginning of the game, where not a lot's going on and very easy for the graphics. At quality, we were averaging 35 with 31 FPS for the 1% lows, which again, still very surprised. Quality has everything cranked at 1080p, and it did a good job. I didn't turn on anything else additionally, like anti-aliasing or anything along those lines. These were just the presets that were available, so I ran through and did all 4. Obviously, as the game goes on, if you have more things going on in the scene, more going on, you know, if you're in a different environment, obviously the FPS here is probably going to change, but overall a good smooth experience and can play Valheim for sure. Our second game we got into was Minecraft. Now Minecraft is very simple. It's an easy game to run, but if you're kind of in the middle for your render distance, you're higher to medium for your render scale and theoretical render and stuff, it's gonna stutter. You'll go from like 500 FPS and then all of a sudden drop down to 74. It's these wide swings in FPS. So definitely throw it on the lower to medium range if you're playing it on single player. You know, I would say 10 to 12 was fairly smooth. Once you start getting to 15, 16, you start to really notice it. Whenever you're rendering in or loading in another chunk, you really start to feel it. But if you're on multiplayer and you're not hosting, then you might have a much smoother experience overall, since your CPU and RAM don't have to do nearly as much. Moving things over then to Marvel Rivals. Well, Marvel Rivals, normally I do a whole suite, but I just wanted to see if I get this thing to run. Last time I tested the 1500X, I tested it with a GTX 1660. And in fairness, I didn't give it enough credit. I ran it at native, and I really put that system through the ringer. But this one, I just wanted to see if I could get it to run. So I put at the lowest graphics settings. I'm not talking about low. I'm talking about going into low and seeing if there are settings below low, or just turning stuff off. And I turned everything off that I could, put everything to its lowest possible graphics setting, and turned on FSR 3. And surprisingly, we got a playable-ish graphics performance. I know for many people from Marvel Rivals, a sub 60 FPS experience is not even playable. But for somebody who's just trying out gaming for the first time, and as someone who can kind of speak from experience, having started on a sub 60 FPS gaming experience, I can absolutely tell you 55 FPS for an average with 43 FPS lows. While I was playing the game, I was so focused on actually playing the game, I forgot about the benchmarking going on in the background. It was an awesome gaming experience. It did a fantastic job. And again, it might change map to map a little bit and who and what's going on at the time. But overall, it did a really solid job. It was a very playable experience. This was all at 1080p. If you drop it to 720p, you can get over 60 FPS most of the time, but it looks really bad. And I would rather have a little bit lower frame rate with the slightly better graphics than the 720p experience I had. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Moving over to Valorant. Valorant was very easy. Kicking things off, we started at high with 16x anisotropic filtering and 4x MSA, averaging about 120 to 140 FPS and not having any sort of dips on our 1% lows. It was fantastic during the deathmatch. Moving things to medium, 2x MSA, 4x anisotropic filtering, we're averaging about 150, 160 FPS. Overall, still a good job. And at low with 1x anisotropic filtering and no MSA turned on, 180 to 200 FPS. A very smooth experience and very nice, and you're not going to miss a beat here, especially if you're just trying out Valorant for the first time, you're just getting into gaming. This is going to be enough FPS for you. You'll be fine just seeing if you like the games in the first place. And finishing up, we'll finish it off with a game of Fortnite. Fortnite ran it at 1080p, performance mode, and just I wanted to see what this thing is capable of. And overall, it depends a little bit about what's going on and where you're at, but I didn't see it drop below 120 FPS. We're averaging about 120 to 180 FPS and a super smooth experience. The only time I saw, I think, a really notable drop was when we had a lot of explosions going on and a bunch of crazy stuff, but it didn't drop below 60. The lowest I saw it hit was, I think, about 80 or 81 FPS, and was a very nice experience, and I saw it happen only one time. Overall, you're going to be getting 120 to 180. When they say performance mode, they mean it. They really give as much performance out of the hardware that you have as they can, and I really appreciate that. So wrapping things up, would I say this is a great card you should go out and buy right now? No. This is 3 gigs of VRAM, especially in modern titles. I mean, it's going to be a tough card to justify. It's cool. I like back in the day $160 in 2016 when you're paying, I don't know, probably 10 more bucks for a little bit of extra performance in VRAM. It's a cool card. I like it. I think if you can find a card like this, a 1050 Ti, if you can find these for like 20, 30 bucks, these are an awesome little budget card to play on. But overall, in a lot of games, I didn't test any AAA games, obviously. I didn't test stuff more demanding. Can it probably play other games? Yeah, I mean, if I tested Forza Horizon 5, could it play? Probably. It probably could, right? But let's say you jump into something like Helldivers, it's probably going to struggle a lot to play games even like that. It's a really budget card. More designed for light titles, esports, stuff like that, where simple to run games, it makes sense for. Otherwise, I really can't recommend it, especially when you're at 1080p and you're at the lowest graphic settings and it still isn't giving you the best experience in the world, but it's playable. If you're wanting to try it out and you want a really budget card, I don't think it's a bad idea. Whether it's for you or for somebody else who, isn't really into gaming, I think it's a good option. I kind of have the unpopular opinion of I think you should go with a more budget, GPU and CPU and a more budget system when you're first getting into PC gaming. If you've never done it before, I think you should. And it's because I have built so many systems that when people will get them and they'll get this high-end system and they'll spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on this crazy gaming PC, and then they barely game on it. They barely do editing on it. They mostly just watch YouTube videos and type up Word documents. It feels kind of like a waste. But if you make a super budget build like we did here, then yeah, I think it makes sense. You can always upgrade. There's room to grow with this build. And obviously, as time goes on, if she decides that she really wants to get into it, then yeah, we can go get her a much better graphics card. Say like a 1660 class card, or maybe an RTX 2060. Put in something like that, and put in a better a better CPU, something like a Ryzen 5 3600. You can find it for a very affordable price. Throw that in there, and now all of a sudden you have a very capable and competent gaming machine. But I wouldn't shoot for the moon off the start. It just doesn't make sense to. I think this is an awesome showing, though, for some of these really budget cards. If light titles is all you play, this is what you should be looking for. The 1050s, the RX 560s, cards like that where they're super cheap, they're super affordable, and if you're not playing demanding stuff, this is it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, though, and I want to, again, thank you again to my buddy who helped me kind of make a little bit more of this video, a more realistic budget build to kind of test out this GPU. So thank you again for that, and thank you guys for watching my videos. I've seen you guys watching the videos, and I've seen the subscriber count slowly tick up and the likes and everything, and I really appreciate the feedback quite a bit. It means a lot to me, more than you guys will ever know. So if you guys are liking the videos, if you guys keep hitting that like button, I really appreciate it. If you're somebody who's watching my videos and has watched some of my content, or you're kind of new to the channel here, if you guys could hit subscribe and hit that little bell icon so you guys will get notifications when my videos are going up. And if you guys can leave some comments, I'm always itching to hear some ideas for videos that you guys want to see happen. Some videos you want to see done, hardware you want to see tested. I'm always willing to read the comments and see if I can make that video happen. So I look forward to hearing back from you guys, and I will see you guys next week. Later, guys.